Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial on how to set up a brush for inking in Adobe Illustrator and ultimately inking in AI. So the first thing, I've already imported the sketch on a layer. First thing is setting up the brush. For me, I'm using a pen tablet, so I don't have a fancy one like the Cintiq or something like that with a display. It's just an ordinary pen tablet, and I work on the computer screen. And this is quite a problem because there's a disconnect between the hand and the eye, and you have to focus somewhere else while you're tracing a line and something. So for me, it was quite an issue to get those smooth and accurate lines. So the thing is, for inking, I'm using the calligraphic brush. It's the brush here. It's paint bar, brush tool, whatever. It's a calligraphic brush in comparison to the block brush. And we're gonna select it. Automatically on screen, you're gonna have the brush symbol. But if you double click it, you're gonna have a panel here. And what this will help you is under fidelity, you can have it to accurate and smooth. Those are the two heads of the slider. I usually keep it on smooth because my hand will tremble a little bit, and the line is not always quite let's say smooth. And if you have it here, the software will automatically correct the lines. If you keep it on accurate, it will just record every movement you make, every tremble of the line or something, and you're gonna have a shaky line. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is just putting the slider all the way up to smooth and click on OK. The next thing in the process is since you're inking, it's just the outline. So this is selecting the colors. The fill color should be set up to none, and the ink, the stroke color, I usually set to black because I like doing black outlines. But you can also choose any other color you want, or a gradient or something. Okay, so moving on to the layer setup. On the right hand, with this display, on the right hand I have the layers tab, and I use the first layer, layer 1, for the sketch, which can import from Photoshop or any other drawing tool, or just have a scanned picture. Just go and for this purpose, as a reference, I'm just clicking on the icon, and this little screen will pop up, and here I choose dim image. 50% is okay for the way I work, and lock. You, what this will do is just dim the opacity of the overall picture and lock the layer, so you won't be able to mark anything, to draw on this layer. Next is create another layer on top, and this is the layer where you're gonna be actually sketching, well, inking. Okay, moving on to brush preset. In this one, um, usually I set up only one brush, so I take the 15-point brush, which is this one, and set the toggle on pressure. What this will do is, depending on how hard you press on the pen, it will give you a thinner line or a thicker line. And under variation, I go for the maximum, so it goes from 1 point to 15 point. Also above 15 point, I believe I think the 15 point is somewhere in the middle range, and you go from 1 to 30 or something, I don't know. But I keep the variation on maximum because I want to be able to get those thin lines and those thick lines with the same brush. And click on OK. Depending on what piece I'm working on, I can also set up two brushes, like one 15 and one 5 point with the same settings. And I'm going on to inking. So, for example, if you press lightly, you'll get a line like this. If you press harder, you get a line like this. So you can increase the point size by pressing harder on the pen, on the pen, on the tablet. So for this one, being a comic, new school type illustration, I'm gonna be having some bold outlines and some thinner lines in on the inside. So what I'm gonna do is just start with the outline, and you can see by now the line is quite crooked, and this is where line correction comes in. Just after you release the line, you leave the pen from the tablet, it will correct the line. Just watch. So you have a smoother line right now, and this was one of the thick ones. Let's do it again. You can go even thicker and go like this. So um, line correction, what it does is when you have this kind of line, it's jaggedy, it will correct to make it smooth. Of course it will take some of the, if you go like zigzag or something, it will keep the path because those are deliberate, but in terms of shaking, it will smooth out the line. Okay, another tip is depending on how if you want to get some jagged stuff in there, it's going slower over it. So if you go like this, it will correct it, right? But if you go like this, like really slow, it will keep it there. It will not correct it. It will not straighten it out because it can interpret that this is a deliberate zigzag or variation. Okay. So now back to inking. It's, as I said, you can press harder for an outline, for a thicker line, and remember, it's okay to undo, especially when inking, because it's there to stay. It's not like a sketch and you can go over it and over it and over it. You're not gonna go like this. Of course you can, but it will look too chicken scratchy. So you can have the outline, a thicker line, and using this variation on the brush, you can have some really thin lines, just like this. Well, this is a shitty line, but super thin. So you can have, let's say, the ice cream cone here. I want to go for a middle-ish outline, just along these lines. Okay, and I'm going in. Oops. And let's see this, the lines inside the cone, I want them to be super thin, so I just go like this, just applying very little pressure on the pen, and I get some super thin lines, and that's without changing the brush, which is always more efficient from my point of view. Okay, so another thing with having this variation, for, again, this is a personal preference of mine, is that when you go over a line like this, let's say we're gonna do this one here. I'm just coming like this, I'm going, pressing harder here, then pressing lighter again, and harder, super light, harder. I want to keep it very light here, and just like this. See, the line weight variation is it gives the piece some character. It gives some depth and stuff. I'm gonna take the 5 point brush, which has no variation on it, and it's this, the same one over, and retrace this just to. You can see the difference it makes when looking at it, uh, non-variation line and with the variation line. It's just cooler like that. I like it. I personally like it. It also mimics the traditional inking. If you would be using a brush with the ink on paper, the stroke would not always necessarily be the same width. You see, because one time you'd be pressing harder and other times softer, and it gives the piece some character. Another cool thing with this variation is that, let's take again the non-pressure variation brush and just look at the heads of the line, the like here and here. It's here. They're rounded. Okay, you can have this the line ending with squares or stuff or other things, but it's it doesn't look quite natural. So when you're going with the pressure variation brush, you can go from the really thin to thick and then to thin again. So you see that the heads would be pointy, which is always nice because in new school and comic illustration, the lines would go like from thin to thick because, and let's just have a real object like this here. So we're gonna be doing the ears here, right? This one. The part where it joins with the with another object should be really thin because it disappears, it fades into the head for here. The ear just starts, and you can give it a an appearance of fading into the head, which is natural because it complex objects and shapes just do not pop out of each other. And let's undo this and just try with the non-variation brush, and you would have a line of maybe this too thick, but again, just in comparison in this part, this part here, just you can see the difference it makes. And that would be all about how I use calligraphic brushes in Illustrator and how to set them up for maximum efficiency. As I mentioned before, it's all about studying, and it's all about making mistakes and undoing them and just making them again and going working a lot. So, and it's a part of it's also a lot of preference. This is my preference when it comes to lines, and from the people I've studied and people I like how they ink. So you should probably go and check out some inkers. Either they're working on comic books and they do the inking part, or if they're tattooers, you should go and study those and see what you like, what you don't like about their lines, and try to apply that. Okay, until next time, thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you.